Hello and welcome back, connoisseurs of CK3. We are here once again with Duke Dumnarth II, future sire to the future kings of Cornwall, if his plans come to fruition, but who knows what will happen after he dies. Will his grandson take up his titles and fulfill the dream of unification and independence? Or will he take his own path? All the Duke can do is try to, over the distance between the boys' home in Deved and Devon, influence him to follow in the footsteps of his sire and grandsire, at least what was assumed to be the footsteps of his sire, who died tragically young. We are in an interesting situation. All of our wars, at least for the rest of Dumnarth's life, are done except one. This war here, it is absolutely necessary, at least from Dumnarth's perspective, to assure that Brittany isn't weakened by these Norse anymore, but he has few things he can do about it. There's no way he can create an alliance with King Alan, who shares a first name with his nephew. Click me, please. Thank you. His nephew is also Alan. He has no one he can marry into the House of Brittany so that they'll feel stronger and take this land over themselves by having a proper alliance. His alliance with Brittany is only through the force of their family connection and the fact that he leads the dynasty. And so there is no mutual relationship between himself and Brittany. I don't believe there's any way in that circumstance to create an alliance. I was correct in thinking so. So the other solution he has to secure Brittany is to simply conquer and drive the Norsemen out. He doesn't have much chance of doing that against the Danelaw, because the Danelaw has this alliance with Dyer. And Dyer is, he's doing well. He's pretty strong. And since all my children died, all my alliances collapsed, so all I really have is myself and Brittany. And I have no children to marry. And it is too young to marry off the boy. So, that's a thing. Additionally, since he's not in my court, the likelihood is I won't have much influence over his marriage. I could enforce a divorce if he marries someone absurd, but I can't decide who he marries because when we try to, you can see it's only going to give us the ability to marry him to people in our court, which means if I wanted to marry him to anybody significant, I would have to find a way to draw them to my court and then marry him that way, and that's it's probably beyond what I'm capable of doing with the small range of my reach. All of the daughters of the King of England are already married. My relationships with my fellow vassals in England are good because, you know, I'm generally known as a good man, so most people who have a connection to me by culture or proximity do like me. But beyond that, I don't have much in the way of contact or relationships upon which to base a marriage like that. So this is going to be a chaotic situation when it comes to marriage. When he comes of age, though, if I haven't died before then, and he's decided to marry someone absurd, I will enforce a divorce. Because while he is a young man who should be able to make his own choices, he needs to think of the dynasty. And from an out-of-character standpoint, I am not going to allow the AI to pick him a terrible wife and stand by that, because I just don't think that's realistic to how it would happen in an actual situation like this. While the game puts an extreme amount of distance between two separate leaders, even when they're related closely, there is absolutely no reason in actual life that I couldn't literally just run my court from his, since it's in my domain. And stuff like that happened a lot in history, so that I could assure that his education was proper, but that's not a thing you can do in this game. And it's not like that. Or I could have his court run by his drunken mother regent. Ah, my son. While he is in my court, but again, that's just not something that's going to be able to happen in this game because it doesn't support that stuff. So we will do some slightly gamey things if the AI decides to do anything crazy with him. The most likely of those is I will force him to divorce any unsuitable wife. Even though that won't give me the ability to pick him the next one, I will just force him to divorce any unsuitable wives. Now, this war is inevitable. The grand irony of this war is that there is a 90% likelihood that I am going to ask the King of Brittany to permanently turn his lands over to me by supporting me in a war to conquer them, and he's not going to be able to say no. I think the frank situation is that I would promise to compensate his family once I'm independent. Basically, the now thinning currency I've been using the entire game to convince other people that my ideas are right is starting to run out, because I don't know that Brittany would believe that I would turn this land over to them, or not even me, that my grandson would turn this land over to them after we become independent. I don't know if he would trust that agreement, but I don't think he really has much of a choice, and the hope that I would do so is probably better than the reality that if we don't do this, this guy is going to get stronger. He has no children yet. He's married to a 60-year-old, so he's not going to have any children for a while. His heir has no children either, but at least he's married to someone young. If somebody stronger who can create proper alliances takes this land over, like a barbarian with actual children, you know, or he picks up some concubines, something he's perfectly capable of doing as a Norse Astaru, he could quickly create heirs, get some alliances, and then take over all of Brittany, which is not something we would find acceptable. We'd just not allow even the possibility of that happening. And our solution to that is simple. There's no reason to delay. As far as we know right now, there are no rumors that he will be joined by other Norsemen if we perpetrate our war right now, and so that means it's better for us to perpetrate it now than it is to wait for our levies to refresh after the last war. And once this war is over, there probably will be no more wars in Dumnarth's lifetime, because Berkshire, most likely because of our good relationship with Alfred, which never turned into a friendship because our tragedy prevented us from doing as many hunts and other pleasurable activities as we originally planned to. The king is not our friend, but he is very closely, he's a very close positive opinion of us. I think he's like in the 80s. Yeah, he's almost 90. So there's that. My current feelings about Bishop Cillian is that we are not going to punish him. We're not going to remove him as the doctor, even though that's probably a good idea. We're just quite aware of the fact that he's heartbroken over what happened, and that he, being a friend of our daughter, would have tried his very best. We are learned enough, though, to recognize as an afterthought that he isn't a good doctor, and that letting him be the doctor was a mistake. We actually replaced the original doctor we had, who was actually more skilled than him, when that person died, with Cillian, because he was the only person with any talent for it in the domain. But we actually have lots of people who would make better doctors than him now, I think. Which means we're gonna have to just accept we don't. Did we get rid of... Oh, right. The best doctor in our domain is, has been sent off to tutor the boy. So we don't actually even have an alternative to him. Since we don't have an alternative, I'm going to leave him in the job. I'm not going to seek out a replacement for him. If we had an alternative in the court where we could just point out that he would be a better doctor, I think that the loss of prestige would be something we would take just because it would be validated by the roleplay, but I don't think we're going to go searching the world for a doctor replacing him and invite a stranger to our court. As I said, he by my perspective as a learned man, I've come to realize how bad a doctor he actually is. But in our current circumstances, he is really the best we have. Would I seek a replacement for him? That's a hard question for me. Like, would I actually seek a replacement for him? Would I push him out as doctor? Is it so? If we perceive it as not a punishment, but as a mutual realization that makes us both very uncomfortable that he shouldn't be the doctor because he's just not suited to it, then I think the proper response to that would be that this guy, he's Anglo-Saxon. I mean, we are closely related to the Anglo-Saxons. If I recruit you, will you have a positive attitude towards me? Or will you go negative? So recruiting you actually improved your attitude, which is something that happens sometimes if you have bonuses that the prison is preventing them from making use of. So we're going to do it. We're going to make him the doctor. I'm pretty sure he'll at least be average because he has the first trait. And the trait is the highest weighted thing about what that decides whether you're a good doctor. So if this puts him as being a good doctor, yeah, he's average. Cillian, I forgive you for my daughter's death because I know you did your best. But I can't in good faith leave you as the doctor, knowing that you are just not suited to the job. I know it's disappointing. But I think it's the right choice. I think it's the right choice for the domain. And as I oftentimes do in situations like this for the RP purposes, we're going to put our sway on him, which is going to represent us going to visit him and explaining to him why this is a nation of him as a person or blame in the situation. But it's just the right choice. And eventually, I hope, talking to him will convince him that we've made the right decision. So we now have a doctor. A doctor who isn't bad. We have no other prisoners. So, wartime. Oh, wow. We unpaused for like 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I mean, this guy joining would not give him more strength than even just me alone. So this is still fine. We're going to call in our Dynastic member. We can't call in our only ally because he's mercenaries, and in spite of the fact that this pops up and it feels like they should be able to join you, mercenaries don't join. Let's move our mustering point down here to the south of Devon, and let's raise our armies and prepare to liberate the coast of Brittany. Liberate being a loosely used term in this case since we're liberating them into our possession. But still, the way at least Dunmarth would see it and validate it. We gained some new muster while we were we gained some new levies while we were doing our muster. Army of Brittany is now, I think, trying to take its revenge for the loss of the coastal territory in the last war. Good for them. They're being raided. They're being raided by Montague. I love the fact that when Montague found out that that his ally in the north in Leon was going to war instead of joining up, he decided to raid instead. Pro-Viking move. One of the things I like about defensive measures is this unlocks purchase truce interaction thing. That's really cool, but it's not that useful when you are a vassal, because there's not that many people who... Like, most people when they attack you are going to actually be attacking your liege, unless they're fellow vassals, so it's not that useful. And I am the most powerful vassal in England, so I suppose if I wasn't the most powerful vassal in England, I would be able to make better use of that, but right now it's not exactly... something I can find any use in spite of the fact it's a really good bonus in other circumstances. Okay, we're not chasing him around. That's silly. It's just a waste of our time. We're gonna do our usual technical warfare. Dumnarth, as he understands it, we're gonna set some besiegers on Leon, and then we're gonna use a small army to try to get our ally to fight the battle here. You know, it's just what I always do. We need less besiegers than we used to now because... Guys, that's not true. We used quite a lot of besiegers there. No, that's right. Generally, we need less besiegers here because this is a weaker fort, but we also have some... oh, we gotta be careful about that. if he lands over here, we're gonna have to turn back, so I'm gonna stop us in this place. I'm not turning back, buddy. Since they've come together, we're gonna do this. And they're gonna realize they need to run from us. We catch them. Doesn't think we're gonna catch them. Makes sense, actually. No. We've been outmaneuvered. We're gonna have to come up this way. He's gonna go to the sea. I have no idea why he would think that was better. We're gonna catch the back army, which is great, because that'll make this battle much more likely to go in our favor. Our ally is doing something I hope that's good, which is supporting our besiegers, because if that's not what he intends to do, then we're gonna be in trouble. Nope, he's not going to support our besiegers. That's awful. I do not think we're going to get there while this battle is still happening. I think we're going to lose that battle. I would have loved it if our ally had landed to support those besiegers. So he outmaneuvered us. That was our fault for being too bold, but he's going to suffer for it. He may have broken the siege, but he's lost the war in that maneuver. It was a very bold move, but now we're pretty much going to wipe his army out, and he's not going to have anything left to attack us with in the future. So this war is pretty much done. It was a good maneuver, and there really was no chance. We were stronger than him to begin with. Our movement convinced him that he should stay where he was, and our ally continued the movement in place, so he got stuck. I think that's pretty much the war. It sucks that our that our siege weapons are fleeing because he was able to break our siege. It's not the best. Should we trust Lord Allen with this? I mean, he is suitable for it. Like, he's our marshal, and in spite of the fact we don't like his sinful nature, I can't continue to validate not treating him like he deserves, like, the respect due to his... Oh, why can't... Oh, because they're still fleeing, of course. So we'll let him lead this army back to the, Who's leading this army? Oh, this guy. Now, this army is going to be in real trouble, so it's probably going to have to go roundabout or hit the sea, because it's small enough that it won't be expensive. Yeah, very small enough that it won't be expensive. And we'll bring these these onagers back around to join up with the sieging force. Okay, so he's gained strength here. I hope he doesn't... I don't know why he's fleeing to the sea again. I don't know what he thinks he's doing. Oh no, this isn't them still. I keep thinking that this army here, which is literally hanging out, because I think that it wants to, like... It wants to raid up here, I think, but it can't because we're here, so it's trying to figure out where it's going to go instead. And it's going to go to the sea. That's kind of not surprising. This siege should be much faster now that we have our siege engines actually in place. We do have good siege engines because of the mine, so there's that. Just like I said every time, speed this up just for the war because we don't need to watch the little men. I mean, we want to see the outcomes, but we don't need to watch them stand there. I got some money, so I probably should take a second and figure out if there's any buildings I need to upgrade immediately. We could upgrade this, which will improve our bowmen here. We want to replace this, do we? Is that true? We want to replace this with militia camps because we want this to be where our huscarls go. This is going to be the base of our huscarls, so we'll just change that to militia camps. I don't really think this domain needs fortifications that much. Yeah. We'll figure it out. Plus, I like the profit from the fields. It's harder for me to knock down a field than it is for me to knock down a fort. Knocking down a fort sort of feels like, I almost want to use the word, it sort of feels like it's inevitably true, like it's inevitably necessary, but knocking down a field feels, it feels like throwing gold into the sea. Burning grain your people need to eat. Just super bad. Think we'll win this even though it's saying it's balanced. I don't think it's giving our allies enough credit. I hope that's true. Oh no. We have the slight, no. Ugh. We had the slight advantage at the beginning of this. That puts us into a bad position. This war is turning out much worse than I had hoped. Well, this guy is like rapidly turning into a better doctor. Oh, of course, because people are being injured in the war. We're gonna have to do something about this. Somehow he has gained just enough allies to prevent us from being able to defeat him. I am not really sure where those guys came from. And he's going to defeat us again here in Leon. Most likely he either paid for mercenaries or his ally has gotten stronger. Let's take a look. So that guy has regenerated enough troops that it's put him up, but that's still... Okay, we're gonna have to be smart about this to turn it around. One of the reasons this is happening is because his troops seem to be higher quality than ours, especially now that his ally has regained some forces. We're gonna have to just take a think here and try to figure out what we can do to win this war. I really, really prefer not to go into debt for mercenaries. I think I'm gonna have to, though. If this gets any worse, it's gonna be necessary. We still have a decent number of troops available, but it's really not looking good without any monetary spending help. This is not the outcome that we were expecting. Why are you sieging that? You're just gonna lose. Or maybe you're not. Maybe you're gonna break this army before he can... Yeah, you did it. Now you're gonna get killed by the other army. This war. Okay. So we took huge losses in this war so far. And I think we really don't have a choice here. I think we're going to need to always check just in case. I don't like going into debt for wars. But, I think we just need a way to replenish the troops we're missing. And I think the only way we can really do that is mercenaries. He still hasn't broken the siege yet, and him breaking the siege is not really the most likely outcome at this time. It's just gonna stand there? It feels like he's gotten confused. Like, why would he just stand there? I don't think I can get there in time. No, I can't get there in time, which means I need to not go there. I need to join up with the mercenaries. This has been a mess. This is literally a mess. Okay, we're gonna join up with our mercenaries. We're gonna trust Lord Allen to turn this around for us, because our current commander, who is technically his equal in strength, has not been making this work out. Spouse up to the task. Some of my counselors believe the job is theirs by right of blood or influence alone. How wrong they are. I expect results, yet I am often disappointed. After a long day, I'm complaining to Duinwen. When she interrupts me, let me do something about it, husband. A few lessons might sharpen their wits. If one of these people will take the lessons without being mad, that is who we will help. Okay. It makes it... Arthael is the one who I think... Yeah, he will do it without being mad, so we will just default to sending it to him. So they are going to see You know, I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to do this. This has been a high casualty war for both sides. Like a really high casualty war for both sides. We can ask our head of faith for gold. That was supposed to go to buying that duchy title, but what it's going to do instead is take us out of debt. That's okay. That's okay. We've got this. We've got this. You perpetrated a lot of successful wars in the past and nothing has really changed. So don't get too down. Oh, jeez, again. This guy, he's just getting caught over and over again. Like, it's because the AI has him wandering around doing things that don't make sense. Like, he keeps trying to siege Montague and stuff instead of, like, joining up with the main force. And it is literally just making this war into a travesty. I mean, I would have thought he already had a claim to Wiltshire, but, whatever. You know? Whatever. I think ultimately it's not going to matter. They seem to be afraid to engage me. And if I win this siege, it's pretty much going to be... Well, I mean, I'm just going to sit on the war goal. No. No, we don't. No. No, we do not accept a white peace. There's no white peace. We were seconds away from winning. Why did you we were just about to finish the siege that was going to make us win. Why did you think white peace would happen? Goodbye. Okay, so now we're in a dangerous position because our number of troops is low compared to our actual value, which means we're going to look vulnerable. Luckily for us, we are under the protection of a great king. We're still saving up for our new duchy title. We're over our domain limit. So I have an idea. It is a complex idea that doesn't really play well with the mechanics, but that we can make happen by being a little bit RP with the way we handle the meaning of different events. I promised this woman and her family that we would unify the two great families of the new kingdom of Cornwall through a marriage and a child, and I think that that agreement has to hold. But I didn't promise her or her family that if my grandson lived, that child would be Count. That child would be Duke. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off celibacy. We're going to see if we make a child. If that child is a girl, I'm going to marry him to, or going to marry her matrilineally to a man and donate that and give that man this territory so that their line, their part of our family, has land to manage. If it's a boy, I'm going to do the same thing, but in order to keep the lineage in line, I'm going to disinherit him. Yes, I know disinheriting is really harsh, but I don't really consider that to be what's happening. I consider this to be the specific thing that was promised. That if our grandson lives, her children would inherit territory, not the domain. Now, upholding an agreement like that is really going to depend on whether or not the grandson does it. Because I don't think it will come to fruition while I'm still alive. Oh, Hinconal has died. Do I have... Okay, so my ex-wife's father, my brother's wife's father, the grandfather of Alan, is as good, at least, a chancellor as Hinconal was. So we're going to put him in the job without looking for a better candidate. We had conflicts. It's not his father. It's actually the son of that guy. It's the brother of my ex-wife and my brother's wife. Yeah, we're gonna put him in charge. We're gonna give him a chance. We've had both positive and conflicting relationships with that family in the past. I won't make it in time. That answers my question. I was gonna say, do I care about about grand tournaments enough to do them at this age? Oh yeah, I changed him to his this is his self-care routine, basically collapsing after his grief and he just never regained the value of it. That's why we turned him into to this gray old man with the long hair and uncut beard. I actually knew some people very closely who, when they got old, this is what they did. It wasn't that they had given up on life. It's just that things like getting haircuts and cutting their beard didn't seem to matter to them anymore after they were 70. So that's sort of what we're going for with his style. I was going to mention this at the beginning, but I think I forgot. I have added community flavor pack, better barbershop, and better portrait lighting because I use them for my thumbnails every single episode, and I'm just sort of tired of having to remember when I'm loading which instance to use. None of them affect the game in any way except visually. It's going to change background characters, but I tried to do my best to put the foreground characters all looking a lot like they did, like even though now the like priests of the era wear brown robes in most places, I put Sillin back in his traditional robes. I think it was a good compromise for adding the mods, and they're all visual mods, so they're not really making the game any different. Plus, I usually use these mods when I'm playing by myself. The only reason I make it vanilla is because it's better for people, but these mods don't interfere anyway. I do like to show off the game as it actually exists as much as possible, instead of like adding stuff to it. Man, what are you doing? Like this is expected, but what are you doing? Ah, that's absurd. Finish that circle first. But we will... Wiltshire is not Catholic, so we need to solve that problem. We still have control growth problems in multiple places because we had so many fast wars. I think that means that we're going to have to... Maybe... He's probably at the tournament. Yeah, when he gets back from the tournament, we're going to petition him for bailiffs. Yeah, nothing's changed there. But now it's time for a bit of a rest, right? I think the old man might try to do a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. He's been communicating by letter with the Pope, basically for his whole life. As at least that's what I represent, the continuously raising his... At least that's how I interpret the fact that his opinion continuously goes back up. You know, he and the priest are constantly in contact with the Pope. So I think he might actually try to go and see the Pope in Rome once before he dies. Especially now that he basically has given full credit to his faith for saving his grandson. So that was an expected outcome. We're going to immediately go back to celibacy so that it doesn't happen again right after. And like I said, if it's a daughter, we will marry her to a man matrilineally and then give that man these titles, because we can't give titles to women in our culture. And then we will, and if it's a boy, we'll do the same thing. We'll put him in charge of these, but then we will first disinherit him. Because I think we needed to fulfill our agreement with that woman for marrying her and basically making her, you know, our wife. We had a deal. So we need to find a way to make that deal, like, actually exist. So let's see, we're gonna put you on change culture. And what else are we gonna do? I think these are gonna clear up pretty fast, but I don't know if they're gonna clear up in a year. Still got two of these. No, they're not gonna clear up in a year. So we're gonna have to think about that. We're probably gonna, just because it's a time of peace, we're probably just gonna accept... a feast is something we will attend. Duke Bernard has invited us to a feast. All right. Well, you know, we're gonna go. We need a new caravan master because Rodwell died. Finally, after all these years. Our trusted caravan master who went on so many trips with us died. This guy is both young and excellent, so we're going to put him in the job. I mean, he's not young, he's middle-aged, but still. I like to put people who are going to have some years in them into the job if possible. And we're going to attend this feast. I think it's going to be a nice break from the new state of affairs. I mean, we just finished a war, so it's not that much of a break, but still. And we're probably going to have to to deal with a rebellion down here because I don't think we're going to be able to get the control up fast enough. The big thing is how fast this happens, because once we get popular figurehead, that will probably solve the problem. That's another wise one. So we've met another wise one on our journey who could give us advice. I'm not a man who's going to bet on good or bad omens. I don't think that that's a thing for him. I think he already thinks his omens are bad but trending better, so he has an opinion about the outcome to this already. This guy is not good enough I mean, we'll recruit him. We could probably use the knight. I mean, we've had some pretty hard wars. I think our knights aren't in as good shape as they were just a short time ago. We should look at that, though. We have 9 knights, and the weakest of them is an 8. Yeah, we probably should, once we've bought that title, invest in more knights. We could hire this guy right away. Yeah, we could hire this guy right away, but we need that title first. We need to pay for the Duchy of Weiss. We need to usurp it from the boy. Making time. We all have a lovely time ahead of us. This is good, because we do need a bunch of prestige. We've also put off the fact that we intended to add our longbow competitions to our thing, to our culture, and that has just been completely forgotten. We haven't made a move in that direction in a long time. This is really good if you're a hunter, because it gives you lots of different targets. Lots of these people are probably hunters. I don't have anything in common with this guy. Oh, yeah, we actually share. No, we don't have the same. I don't know if they count this as the same trait or different traits. This guy's a hunter. This guy's a hunter. This woman's a pilgrim. This guy's a hunter. See how many of these it covers? We're not a poet this time, are we? No, we're not a poet. So yeah, I mean, pilgrim traveler, pilgrim. Nothing with this guy. Traveler. Look how many of these things this works on. Traveler, 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 pilgrim. So it's a really good choice if you realize that it means all traits. Like, this becomes a really good choice. And it loses us some stress, but we have none. But I think in this case, I think we're going to go after the prestige because we know we need it. These people aren't as important to us as people in our own domain would be. I'm not going to give up prestige for you. Yeah. So she spilt her... Did she... Oh yeah, she puked on us, so we're... Yeah. Okay, so we're having a conversation with a court here. I just don't think so. I think we're just generously minded, so we're going to be polite to him either way, right? We're not going to just, like, call him out. He's now our friend. I'm starting to get a little paranoid in my old age that these guys want to murder me, even though I don't see why they would. Why would you even bother to like, put a guest up if you're not going to actually, like, do it? That was unseemly. Yes, it was. That was the definition of unseemly. That's... Okay, well, this guy... That's a thing. I shouldn't be able to get that trait. I was gonna say, I can't get that trait because I'm celibate again. Oh, I am wondering whether or not that's gonna be a girl or a boy. It's actually very exciting. The old man is having a kid. I mean, he's not gonna be able to take care of it, but it's not like his wife isn't gonna be provided for by the court, by his grandson, who we should check up on. He's 10. He seems to be doing well. No outward signs of abuse. He is patient. Okay. It's interesting. And I think that's where we're going to end this episode. We're a little bit over already. It's been 40 minutes. So thank you for watching. It is going to be a little bit slower paced while we're in these years of no war, but that is the nature of a slow role play. We're going to try to find diverse activities for the old Duke to go on. He's going to run some feasts and stuff, especially after he has some gold supply, and after he's finished that, probably going to try to go on that final pilgrimage to Rome. But I don't think we're gonna like sightsee too much during it. I think we're past that point in his life where he's really into like taking those extra steps. I don't know. Actually, maybe he will. He's always been learned. There are probably a lot of places in Italy that he dreams of seeing. So that's going to be what we think about next episode. Thank you for watching, and I hope you join me again next time when we are here observing the life of Domnareth II, Duke of Cornwall. Goodbye for now.